Happy Tuesday, you all. This is the last Tuesday of November. I almost can't believe it, but it is Thanksgiving time. It is holiday time. But welcome to the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT. Of course, I am your host, Camille E. Gaines, and we have our wonderful Pearson. We just love him. He is the VP of recruiting over there at MVT. We are your first and only stop when it comes to truck driver recruitment show. We are here for your hot jobs, your insider tips when it comes to truck driver recruitment, just your driver news, anything pertaining to the industry. But what we're going to really be talking about today, how MVT has absorbed another Texas carrier. Of course, it's in the news. It's not me. It's in the news. I saw it in the news, Pearson.
Really?
Yes, I saw it in the news. So it's in the news. I'm not making this up. See, I'm telling y'all, when stuff is live, it is live here. Look, I ain't got Pearson. He don't even know that it's hot on the press. Okay, let me. And then also we have. I want to talk about how to balance your trucking career with your family life. I think that is so important for us nowadays. Of course, we're going to talk about freight. We are going to talk about diesel, of course. And then we're going to talk about our president-elect when it comes to these tariffs. So I think that is important. And I want to see what Pearson has to say and if his opinion differs from mine. And then something I'm so thankful for, I have a new grand girl. She was born today, this morning at 7:28 a.m. And so my granddaughter, Caitlin, was born this morning. So I'm very thankful for that as well. But before we get started, everybody, I want you to like and follow wherever you're watching us at, but especially on YouTube. Go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe there so you can follow us everywhere. But let's go ahead and jump into the diesel.
Yeah.
So, but before we say anything about the diesel, I do want to point out that the gasoline has not come out. We do like to talk about gasoline prices because all the transportation doesn't just deal with diesel. Some of us do deal with gasoline, but the gasoline average prices are not out yet. But the diesel has risen almost 5 cents, 4.8 cents. So it's up 3.53 a gallon. So the increase is just on the heels of 8.2 cents of a drop. But it's still almost 61 cents of a decrease from last year. But I hate to say this, I kind of am optimistic with the increase because all these decreases make me kind of nervous when it comes to the diesel. It really does. But I do like the increase a little bit. So.
Yeah, I'll point out on the gas price or fuel price. The last time we were under $2 a gallon, we were in the middle of the COVID shutdowns. Mm-hmm. Before that, the last time we were under $2, we were in the 2008 financial crash. So there is a downside that comes with cheap freight. Granted, I don't want to see it go up $1 by any stretch, but that fuel price is essentially a barometer for the economy. So with that said, I kind of want it holding steady. Um, the U.S. produces more oil than it possibly could use. It sells a lot into the world market. So we are not so much ebb and flow based off of supply versus demand. Um, you kind of want to see that hold steady. That's a good spot for trucking to be at. I will say this, the fuel surcharge for many people is a lagging indicator. So when fuel goes up, you kind of want to slow down your trucks a little bit and get more out of the gallon of fuel that you have in your truck. Because at a 4.8% increase, that's generally going to mean that you're getting shorted a penny on your fuel surcharge, most likely. So it's something to keep in mind. If you're relying on the spot market, that goes out the window because it's an all-in cost. But I would not panic over an increase of almost 5 cents. I think that's nominal. I would not worry too much about it. When we start seeing raises of 15, 20, 25 cents,
Mm-hmm.
we probably need to have a different discussion.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a couple of cents is nothing to be alarmed about. I just like the increase. I don't like all the decreases. It does make me nervous, most definitely. But because you didn't know about this, it being not that you didn't know about this, but you didn't know about it being in the news. Um, but my freight waves knew. I do want to bring it up, but it was all good. Freight waves definitely had it in a good light. It looked really good. I like the fact that MVT absorbed Stagecoach. One thing that I do like is that Stagecoach is diverse, has diverse fleet. Also, Stagecoach has been permitted to enter into Mexico since 1986. So, with the fact that MVT does cross bordering, Stagecoach has been doing that since you and I were kids. I like that, So, did you have anything that you can say? I know you can't say everything, but
No,
that you can say.
Stagecoach. So MVT purchased Stagecoach in 2019. The two companies kind of ran very, very separate. This is more gaining synergy internally. Of the current drivers, they have noticed very little in the way of a difference. Technically, we brought all the OTR folks from Stagecoach into MVT about 2 weeks ago. There's situations where we were competing for the same customer against each other, which is always a bad deal. That's not good for the carrier. On the
Right.
flip side of it, as we've talked about, given current environment conditions from an economy standpoint, size helps. And so leveraging that size of two carriers into one becomes much more advantageous for us, for the folks at Stagecoach. There's not a huge corporate takeover. Internally,
Mhm.
the drama is non existent at this moment. All this really allows us to do is utilize our size to a greater advantage when it comes to fuel, equipment, freight, a number of other things. Stagecoach does have more in the way of warehousing than what MVT does. And ultimately, that's the thing. When we go to a customer, we don't claim to be the cheapest shipper. It's bad for the driver. It's bad for us. And long term, that's not a recipe for success. We claim to be a freight partner. And what I mean by that is we go to a shipper, and if you allow us to do 3PL or 4PL, where we can look at your supply chain from front to back, through efficiencies, we will save you money. If
Right.
you're looking to save a bunch of money moving freight from point A to point B, we are not claiming to be that carrier. It's bad for the driver in that scenario. But if you allow us to be your supply chain carrier, we can look at it and we will find you efficiencies, which is much more healthy of building a partnership with a shipper. So essentially, what you're looking at there, and a lot of other companies will be doing the same thing. You'll see a lot more of this over the next 6 to 12 months. Is hey, we have separate entities. Let's combine these entities together and reap the benefits of the size. There are many reasons why a carrier has different legs of the
Yeah.
business, some from a tax standpoint, some from an employment or a legal standpoint. Like CRST has a carrier that's based out of California. that mainly does dedicated out of California. I believe it's called Gardner. It's CRST. It's CRST. But strategically, legally, and tax wise, it is better to have a separate entity because of the state of California. You will see a lot of companies come together and go, we need to leverage our full size. Let's combine these things. It's now advantageous to do so. Like I said, over the next 6 to 12 months, though, we're going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions. This is more of a on the paper move, as well as, quite frankly, offer better value to the customers by being that 3PL or 4PL provider.
And that's exactly what Freightways put in black and white, that it will, because of MVT and what MVT stands for and has done, that it will bring operational synergy and better efficiency. So that's definitely pro, and stands for what MVT does and is. So, and then the fact that you were talking about different mergers and everything, we woke up and saw that Schneider acquired Cohen. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Because I'll just mess up names. So that's awesome. $400 million in credit is basically what they use to do that. And that's expected to close at the end of the year. So that increases Schneider to over 8,400 trailers or tractors. I'm just making up stuff now, but 8,400 tractors. So that's pretty huge, and it's going to do the same thing, synergy as well, and it's a strategy.
Yeah,
So that's awesome.
I'd recommend to drivers here over the next year, look at larger carriers. It doesn't mean that you should not go to a smaller carrier. And there's a lot of carriers under 500 trucks that are really good companies.
Yeah.
One of the things I recommend to drivers is if you go to a smaller carrier, you should get the warm and fuzzies that you're going to enjoy the relationship. If your main determining factor is I want to go here, a small carrier needs to sell you on relationship. That is the advantage of a small carrier. If the small carrier is solely vetting you and you're like, they pay the most, that's a long-term recipe for failure. If it's based off of the fact of relationship and you're going to feel like part of something, do what's best for you. Do it to it. With that said, I want to find a carrier that has financial stability, has a strong customer base, and going to be able to weather the next year. I think over the course of 2025, things get phenomenally better than they are now, but it's going to be a slow grind. And you're coming up on it where the last 2 years of freight's been bad, so companies don't have a lot of cash on hand. You need companies that can tell you, I have a strong financial base. That should be attractive to a driver right now. I tell any driver, if you're looking at a small carrier, they need to be able to provide you with, I will take care of you. I know you by your name. I have a specific customer I'm going to have you for. They should be able to provide you those. Because without that, if they're simply the highest paying, that's not really a strong asset when you're going to a small carrier. It's like if you go to work for a small business, and that small business, their sole thing is, I'm going to pay you a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a little discouraging. On the flip side, if that small company says, do you want to be a part of something? Maybe it's, I'm going to work with you one-on-one, or I'm going to provide you opportunities to grow, or give you skills that will help you in the next stage of your career. Then they have a value proposition. So it's one of those things that drivers, it makes the market very cloudy to drivers right now, but that's where we're at over the next 6 to 12 months.
I agree with you. And that kind of transitions into the book that I wrote, Competing with Giants. It is a smaller trucking company's blueprint to how to recruit and retain their drivers, because that is how you compete with the giants, is through building relationships, because that's where the difference is. And then also utilizing the blueprint of the larger companies. The fact that with the technologies and things like that, you can do it on a smaller basis. But the biggest thing is the building the relationships. And
Yep.
so in the link below on YouTube, I'll have where you can purchase that book for under $20 because that is definitely important. Because Pearson, you are right. That is your biggest advantage as a small carrier is being able to build a relationship, whether it be with the shippers, whomever, your recruiters. That is where it is, right there.
Oh, I'll say this: if you work at a small carrier, and I view a small carrier of anything under than 500 trucks, and you don't take the time to know your driver base, if you don't know who your best drivers are, the people that need help, if you don't do that, you're not realistic about the environment that you're in, and you're going to fail.
Yeah, yeah, that that's for sure. That's 100% sure. But this also is the only industry that I can think of where you can get in and immediately compete with the megas.
Oh, theoretically, you can be a one truck shop, and you're competing for the same freight that a Swift or Schneider is.
Yes.
It's one of the fun parts of our industry is the ease of entry compared to other businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tomorrow, if you decide that you want to compete against Microsoft or Google, good luck to you. We'll see how
Right.
that plays out. But
Yeah.
on the flip side, if you want to compete with Swift, you absolutely can do that as a one truck operation. It's why I tell anybody it's not a given. There's some work involved, but trucking is a great industry, especially if you want to meet people with dreams.
Yeah.
Trucking is a great opportunity for that. And so it gets me excited. It reminds me of what's going on in the spot market today, though. You know, we continue to see the purgatory in the spot market right now, where we seem to be holding steady. I believe available loads were down 10%, while available trucks went up 19% last week. That's somewhat of a concern because it should be the opposite this time of year. We'll see how that plays out as we get past Thanksgiving. I imagine that picking up. I know dry vans up a penny, flatbeds down 3 cents, reefers up a penny. Right now, I believe dry van sitting 197, 224 for flatbed, 251 for reefer. It gets into what you talk about in your book about building relationships, though. If you're playing on the spot market where you want somebody else to build those relationships for you, the spot market's been tough. So if you're not going to be in the sales part of that as a small trucking carrier, the spot market's beat up on you for 2 years and probably another 12 months. On the flip side, something tells me that if you take care of your drivers on a one-on-one basis, you probably also take care of your shippers. Those
Mm-hmm.
two things are not mutually exclusive. If I don't care if you have 500 trucks, 5 trucks, 1,000, if you are good at building relationships, you can make money even during bad times. If you expect those relationships to come to you and acquiesce to you, even in the good times, it's hard. And in the bad times, you get called out.
Yeah, that's definitely, you'll be called out on the bad times because
Yep.
it's all about building relationships. And in the bad times is where your relationship building is the most important during these type of times because your true character, it's just like anytime, your true character is shown, not formed, but your true character is shown during these times. That's when you're uncovered. Everything is, you're uncovered during these times. And I guess speaking of market, let's talk about these tariffs. So, your president-elect Donald Trump recently announced to impose 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, along with an additional 10% on Chinese goods. So part of it is he's saying the fentanyl that's coming in is so easy to move fentanyl. Um, that's what Freightways put out, that part of it. So the implications for our economy is the consumer prices are more likely to raise for imported goods, leading to higher prices for us as consumers. Inflation pressures, and all of that. It could reduce the spending, which is scary, and that comes from the Wall Street Journal. So you have the strained relationships when it comes to trade wars and all of that. But the pros can be that it's more done in the United States. What do you feel about all of this?
I'm not worried about it in the slightest. And I hate tariffs. Let me be clear on that. I believe that this is a whole lot of posturing.
Okay.
Most likely, this is Trump's administration's early stages of negotiation.
Okay.
And right now, we have been primarily Brenton Riggs is basically the global economy that we're in post World War II. We are becoming much more isolationist, and it's not so much like we were pre World War II. The global economy is breaking down in many facets, and the U.S. has acted as that presence in the ocean, allowing commerce. Pre Cold War and during the Cold War, the reason you wanted to be an ally with the U.S. is we'd protect your ability to transit the oceans. Um, we have a lot of leverage in the US right now. China's economy is probably the worst it's been since the 1970s, and they have a population issue. A lot of that's moving to Mexico. We are in a position of dominance within the global economy right now. That
Mm-hmm.
if you saw about 6, 7 years ago, Japan was very quick to sign a long term trade agreement with us. There's a number
Mm-hmm.
of other countries that followed suit. Um, you will see this as a posturing mechanism to have more long-term trade agreements. We recently, during the previous Trump administration, did NAFTA 2. I see this being an extenuation of that. I am 100% certain we do not have 25% tariffs on Mexican imported goods. We may see it on China. I would not be surprised on China at 10%. But the US and Canada, most likely what this leads into is a more long term trade agreement.
Okay.
The thing to keep in mind is Donald Trump is not president yet. He will be in January. And so we got to cool our jets a little bit. We're going to go into panic mode with a bunch of stuff. On the tariffs, I can see that being just posturing, starting the actual negotiations, so that by the time that we get to the end of January and Trump takes office, his administration is already well into the negotiation period with these countries. I would probably think that the news that comes out January, February, or March probably going to be more indicative on what we're doing. Additionally, and I think most of the market's taking it that way, because theoretically the stock market should have absolutely tanked at news of that, and it didn't. So I
Yeah.
think most people understand that this is a negotiation. It's just like I tell people when it comes to cabinet positions. A lot of people got worked up going, Matt Gaetz is going to be the cabinet for what? Cabinet positions have no power. A cabinet position outside of intelligence, the cabinet position, if I am, Camille, if you ran for president, I'm your commerce secretary. I have no power. I don't vote on anything. I don't set objectives. My job, Camille, is at that point, I come to you and I give you advice. I become a subject matter expert
Expert.
and I come to you and I go, hey, Madam President, this is what we're seeing right now. This is happening here, here, and here. And ultimately, you, as the elected official, make the decision to listen to me or to ignore me. Um, I would tell you that the media is getting very worked up about a whole lot of stuff right now and stirring the pot. Do I know what's right or what's wrong? I do not. But what I can tell you right now is I see a lot of posturing. I care much more about what Biden's doing with Ukraine at this moment because it will impact what comes over the next 60 days.
Yeah.
That could be very important. Tariff wise, cabinet wise, I see a lot of negotiation and posturing at this moment that it's really hard to read into. The key thing in a day to day functionality standpoint, I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be all right.
And that is mirroring what the president of Mexico said. Basically, she had said cool your jets, but it was close to it. Basically, cool your jets, and she would like to sit down with the incoming administration to see what their heads are, because she didn't think so as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Mexico and Canada, both not from a military standpoint, though they are allies, but from an economic standpoint, we are heavily dependent on each other.
Yeah.
North America, more so than something happening 5,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Our three countries are unbelievably dependent on each
Yeah.
other. And so, from an economic standpoint, I see this as posturing, beginning the negotiations. If I was going to buy a vehicle from Camille's going to sell her 1987 Yugo to me for $500. I may come in really bold at first and go, I'll give you 100. Well, Camille's not taking the 100. Of course, I'm not taking. I'm really knowing that she's probably going to sell it for 4, but I'm trying to start the bidding in my favor so that as we actually negotiate, I'm going to get close to what I want to pay. Purely, that's what I'd look at what's happened over the last 3 to 4 days.
Makes sense.
Sell me that Yugo, Camille. I'm waiting.
But I think I'd sell it for more.
I don't know. A Yugo is kind of hard to sell for more than $500.
I just probably wouldn't sell it to you. I would sell it to somebody else.
I can see that. Absolutely.
You're right. I would sell it to somebody else that really thinks it's something important.
I hear Raven wants a Yugo.
Yes, Raven wants a Yugo. She really is dying for a Yugo. Girl, you really want this Yugo. But with saying that, let's go ahead and go to commercials so we can come back and go over these ones. Oh my God, we got 5 jobs. Shut your mouth. Oh, that's 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's only 4. I'm just getting ahead of myself.
You're excited today, Camille. You are excited. You got a lot going.
I know. I'm making up stuff now. Okay, 4 jobs. So let's go ahead and go to commercial, and we'll come back and talk about these 4 jobs.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good regional job. And hey, you should give them a call.
That was quick and easy, just like DeAnthony said in the commercial. I thought that was funny. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the first map up there.
We are looking for teams. If you are a pre-made team, it could be a husband and wife, siblings. It can be best friends from high school. Have a lot of people came from all walks of life. We have the opportunity. The average team's averaging $3,600 to $4,000 a week. We are currently looking for pre-made teams out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, the DFW Metroplex, as well as Nashville, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee. This runs a lot of I-40, I-20, I-30, as well as a couple occasionally going up to the Northwest. Really good miles, really good length of haul, specifically team-oriented expedited freight. So you're not a team running on solo miles. Additionally, in a lot of these markets, we have local drivers that do the end market deliveries or end mile deliveries, final miles, which allow our teams to rack up 6,500 to 8,000 miles a week. Really good home time, weekly home time, great running areas, and customers specifically set up with a lot of engineered lanes. Vast majority are drop and hook, like 80 to 90% drop and hook. So if you're a pre-made team, Division 110 is who you want to talk to your recruiter about. Again, that's Albuquerque, New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, Metroplex, Nashville, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee for teams. Kayla, can you move to Division 300? Out of El Paso currently, we have solo opportunities going from El Paso to unique spots in Texas. It could be DFW, Houston Metro, San Antonio, or Laredo, and then popping up into the Colorado Front Range and back down into New Mexico and El Paso. We do not go into the mountains of Colorado. You'll never see the Eisenhower Tunnel or any of those high passes. So as an example, as we come into the winter months, we will have chains on the truck because we're obligated, but you're not going into any of the higher elevations where you would need to utilize those chains. Average 1650 to 1680 a week. That comes out to about 84 to $86,000 a year. Hiring specifically out of El Paso at this moment. Orientation would take place in El Paso. Really good opportunity. Engineered lanes. About 18 different customers make up this. All direct customers. So a lot of opportunity out of El Paso. 4.5 days out and then 2 days at the house. Let's go into Division 410 so we can hit some of those folks in Tennessee. Division 410, our Midwest as well as Tennessee Valley Regional. Attractive running lanes. You're going to stick to the general vicinity of where you reside. You're never more than a day and a half from the house. Currently looking for drivers based out of Nashville, Tennessee, Lexington, Kentucky, and Louisville, Kentucky. Weekly home time averaging $85,000 to $90,000 a year. We have productivity bonuses that your recruiter can get into over the telephone on these. Great pay, great running lanes. You're not going up to the Northeast. Really good equipment on this. And again, well-established customers that are specific to us, under contract to us. So not a lot of broker freight, which means we get to up the amount of drop and hook that you have. Exciting opportunity on 410. And last but not least, let's look at Division 430. Kayla, my favorite division, the non-stress division. Out of Jacksonville, instead of being pushed up towards I-95 to the northeast or up to 285 around Atlanta, you're going to run a lot of I-10. Jacksonville over to Houston, Houston to Laredo, Laredo back to Jacksonville. That's weekly home time. Generally takes you about 5 days to do that loop. Take 2 days off and then come back out on the road. Averaging anywhere between $1,100 to $1,300 a week. Orientation would be out of either Laredo, Texas, or El Paso. Normally, given distance, we fly people to orientation in this scenario. So an exciting opportunity out of Jacksonville, Florida on Division 430. Those are our 4 hot jobs this week. We'll have 4 new hot jobs to cover next week. But if these positions or any other positions interest you, call 281-968-3100. That's 281-968-3100. Exciting opportunities for us, and I'd love to call you a coworker. But the nice thing with Rig on Wheels is they have about 40 other clients actively hiring at this moment. So if we talked about a region that I did not mention, chances are there's 3 or 4 other clients of Rig on Wheels that would have those opportunities available. So instead of you spending the entire week gabbing on the phone with recruiter after recruiter, pick up the phone today, call 281-968-3100 or visit rigonwheels.com. And you're going to talk to folks like Nimmer and Raven and others over there at Rig on Wheels that are going to get to know who you are, what you need, who else is in the decision-making process, where you envision yourself being 5 years, 10 years down the road. Have that conversation so you can have one conversation instead of 10 with 10 other carriers and ultimately find the place that's going to be right for you that provides you with a career path rather than just a job.
Absolutely. And you can also, I'm not sure, I didn't hear this, but you can go to, did you say rigonwheels.com?
I sure did. Who could forget?
Okay. And it's a tab that says driver application. So go ahead and click on that. And it is a hyperlink. So it completes the app for you. If you filled out one before, and then just make sure you do any edits or any additions that you need to do. So make sure you go ahead and do that, and they'll give you a call back today or tomorrow. Okay, everybody? So what we're going to go ahead and do is go to commercial. When we come back, I want to discuss making time for your family, balancing everything during your trucking career. Because not everybody is local, and even if so, you're still on the truck all the time, except for your breaks, right? Your 10 hours and all of that. Because a lot of times with your local, it's not as if it's 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. So let's go ahead, go to commercial, and when we come back, let's talk about how to balance everything with your home life and make it make sense.
Hey, my name is Rafael Bazan. I'm a driver at MVT. I'll be here for 3 months. what made me apply is I've heard good things about the company. What I enjoy most is that it's not a stressful situation. And where you're going, you see so many things, and actually go traveling is one of the. It's so beautiful when I've seen snow, and it's beautiful to go out there to Colorado, and the experience is nice. I have an amazing mentor. I thank God I had that person to help me out with everything I need to know about driving. Well, as of right now, I've had all the vehicles that we've used. They're brand new vehicles. Everything's running perfectly. Even though we come back, we take it to maintenance, and right there, then they fix it. They replace anything that's broken or any wiper, anything you tell them, they'll fix it. But everything's running perfectly. Even the trailers are running good. Yeah, actually, I would. I've recommended a lot of people that I went to school with to come to MVT. It's a very good company. I'm not people-wise. Dispatchers are really they respond to you. Even like I said, my mentors, that person is a wonderful person. Everybody here has been nice to me. Even the first day I got hired, even with my the person that hired me, Edgar, he did a great job to get me a job here.
That's awesome. I like how that particular testimony shouted out Edgar. It's always nice to hear one of the recruiters that a driver kind of touched, was touched by.
Yeah,
So,
it's one of those things that I've always joked over the years that recruiter means liar, because we don't necessarily have the best reputation in the industry because of some
yeah.
nefarious behavior by some people in this industry. It means the world as a recruiter to have a driver come back and by name point out the positive that you did in their life. It is a huge motivating factor more than any other bonus structure or anything else. You take pride in the fact when you're able to place the right driver in the right location and they have long-term success. That's always exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. So I like that he actually said Edgar's name instead of just recruiter. So I really like that. And in this conversation, we're gonna also bring up another testimony by MVT driver. But this week's blog, Rig on Wheels blog, is always written by Nimmer, which is one of Rig on Wheels lead recruiters. But it's meals, miles, and memories, making time for your family while building your trucking career. So
Maybe
there.
real briefly, I'm sorry, I got to log off of here real quick. We're coming up on that time. I appreciate you as always, though.
Yes. So you about to log off now?
Yes.
Okay. That was funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to do, I want to go through the blog or go through the steps that Nimmer she kind of went through all of this with different drivers, and she comes up with these steps based on her research with the drivers, the industry, and everything. But setting clear career and family goals, because we know as recruiters that choosing a job isn't just about you, it's about your family. And your family unit may not just be, or may not be you and your life partner. It could be you and your kids, you and your life partner, you and your mom, you and whomever it is in your life that you are responsible for or you answer to, right? That's who it is. So, define your career and family priorities. Everybody's career and family priorities are different. That's why the job has to look different for everyone. So, um, the goal setting and managing expectations. Choose family friendly trucking companies if family friendly trucking companies is something that's important for you. Okay. So make sure that you're balancing that for yourself and your family. So, creative ways to be home for the holidays. So, let's say that you're at a company that okay, let's take Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving is coming up, right? So, let's say that you can't really be home for the holidays. Let's look at it like a long distance relationship. I'm glad that Kayla put that up there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So let's look at it like a long distance relationship. Okay. Let's think about it. What would you do? We have so much technology that back when my uncle was driving, God rest his soul, maybe couldn't do as an OTR driver or as a regional driver. He was OTR, but as a regional driver, some of you all, what can we do now? Virtual Thanksgivings, right? We do so much video calling or FaceTime that is just as if you are there. Okay. So that is literally something you can do. Social media, all of that is the new CB. I say that all the time. So it's the same thing when it comes to your loved ones. Explore dedicated routes or dedicated lanes, all of that. So basically, you know when it is you're coming home. Now, things happen in trucking that sometimes we can't control. But basically, my thought is making sure you know when it is that you're getting home. That's very important. Uh, Consider team driving. That's definitely a way to stay connected with someone. So whether it's someone that you know, or if you want to start, buddying up with someone that you don't know. Okay. And some people just want to explore part-time routes and things like that. So think about that. Um, Sharing calendars for better planning. I'm all about shared calendars. That's very important. Keeping traditions alive, like for an example, bedtime walls, stories, all of that. If you have children, making sure that when you're on FaceTime or video call, don't make it be just a short call, even if they're a toddler and things like that. That time matters. Generation Alpha, like my grandkids are Generation Alpha, they are so well equipped to this video chat and FaceTime, even if they're running around and all of that, they are very much aware. So even if you are Gen Zer, they are much more aware than you are. Okay. So make sure of that. Keep those traditions that we normally would have, just bring them into modern time. Utilize the modern technology that you have for your traditions. So, what I want to talk about now is gratitude in action. I was so grateful that Nimmer put this in the blog. So, David Perry is a driver that's been with MVT over 5 years, 6 years to be exact. And he did a video testimony. It talks about he's actually a seasoned vet driver. He's only been with MVT for 6 years. And he is more in the Northeast, not the real Northeast, because we know that MVT doesn't go into the real Northeast, but MVT's quote unquote Northeast. And he went to MVT because it was better paid and it was just a better family friendly trucking company for himself and his family. And it provided a flexible schedule. He knew when he was going to be home, and it was just more of a supportive environment for himself. And it spoke volumes to a driver that was a veteran driver out here with a bunch of mega companies. So that is very important, and that just speaks to MVT. So I want to point that out, especially on the MVT show. So we want to talk about making sure that you give gratitude and thanks for the small things. Okay, we always try to think of these big grand things, but it's so many small things that happen during our day that we literally need to just sit back and give thanks for. That's what we need to be thinking about. That just will help so much. I just wanted to talk about that so much on this show. And I know during Thanksgiving time is the time we really talk about it and all of that. And people will say, oh, we need to talk about it more, which is true. But holidays like this are times that it comes to the forefront of our mind. So I think that is okay. So I do want to end the segment with saying that most definitely. When I want to go to commercial, when we come back, I want to talk about why it is very important to deal with a third party recruiting agency like ourselves, what the benefit of it is on the for trucking companies as well as for drivers. So if you could just take us to commercial, Kayla, and when we come back, I do want to talk about that. Thank you, everybody, for coming back. Y'all saw me looking at my phone trying to see if Kayla sent me a message. I forgot my earbuds. But basically, what I wanted to talk about is the importance of using a third-party recruiting agency. Let's talk about it first. As a third-party recruiting agency, we have two different clients. Okay, our client is the trucking company or the carrier, and then our other client is the driver. Okay, so we're driver focused and carrier focused, both. So the benefit for the driver is you don't have to call 8 different carriers to try to find a job. You don't have to fill out 8 different applications, right? You literally fill out our application and we help you fill out the other 8 and you sign release forms. After that, once we're screening you and we're talking to you and we are narrowing down things, you will figure out and we will help you figure out, instead of 8, probably 3, maybe 4 of the ones that you really want. Because what happens is so often, and this happens a lot, that a driver will call in for one company because they really think that that's the one that they want. But as they talk, that's absolutely the one that they don't want. What we don't want to do is put you in for a company that we know you're not going to be happy with. That's not the game. That's not what we want. Because we want you to come back to us when you need us. For an example, the company that you're with is a life change that happened, and they're not within that life change. They're not in the area that you've moved to. Stuff like that. Not because you're just not happy. That typically doesn't make a trusting relationship that you want to come back to us, and we like returning customers. However, if they're not in Tennessee and you move to Tennessee, then you'll come back to us because you are happy at ABC Company. And then you'll refer all of your friends. We all know that that is the best base of door openings is by referral basis, right? So those are the pros of dealing, some of the pros with dealing with a recruiter, a third-party recruiter. We can kind of help you get through all of those smoke and mirrors. I think I'm saying correctly, right? And we can help you navigate through all of that marketing and say, no, that's not what that company means. No, this is not really where you want to go. If this is what you're looking for, this is not what they are providing you. Things like that. Because we're not married to any company and we're not beholden to any company. We're literally here to help you. That is it. So that is the main part of it. And so it's advantageous to really use us to help definitely with your next home, your next career choice, and all of that. Another thing is we can help with career planning. So let's say that you're trying to get into tankers, you're trying to get into certain things. We can tell you, you go to this company for X amount of time, and then you'll be able to go to your next step after that. Okay, we will be able to help you with those career development sort of things. One other thing that will recruiters do talk about a lot is getting all of your endorsements in your TWIC card. We're really big with that because you never know when your opportunity will change. And you don't want to be caught with your pants hanging down. Okay? So those are very big deals. Now I want to talk to the trucking company. We have been doing this Rig on Wheels now for 15 years, and we do have expertise in it. We definitely, our main point is to help as much as we can, you and the driver. We want to get you clean applications. We want to get you the type of driver that you are looking for. So it doesn't matter what size company you are, if we're partnering with you all, each trucking company is different. So if you are a company that wants us to collect the front and the back of the CDLs and the med cards, these are things that we want to do to help you and your processors get it going. If you are wanting us to collect the signatures, those are the things that we're going to do. So what we do is not replace. We're not here to replace your recruiters. We're here to enhance the recruiting department. That's what we're here for, to enhance the recruiting department and promote your marketing. Okay. We utilize your recruitment guidelines and the sales guideline. It lets us know what we can do. Okay. So we don't look at the recruitment guidelines as a negative, we look at it as a positive. Because that's what it is. It's a positive. It lets us know the ideal driver that you're looking for. And we know there's a new sheriff in town, that 90% of the carriers now are most definitely looking for a professional driver, but also that means something different to each carrier. And we are here to modify what that means for each carrier. So that's part of our screening process when it comes to the drivers. And we listen and we make, our goal is to make sure that we're sending an application, we want to know what's the reason why you won't take this driver. Because if you won't, we don't want to send it. That is not our goal, to send drivers to you, because it wastes our drivers' time and it'll waste your time. And that does not make a good relationship. And Rig on Wheels is big on relationship building. So that is definitely my spiel. And I want us to be able to go into 2025 with building better relationships, and just be fired up. I feel so good about 2025 with Freight. I feel so good about it with our professional drivers. So I am just excited. I am very excited as far and blessed as far as what we have in store for next year, and just the voices behind the wheel. I mean, that might be giving away what our slogan is going to be for Faces of the Road calendar for 2025. But really, that is what I'm just really fired up about next year. So I want that brings us to the bottom of the hour and the top of the hour. You all know, I don't know which one it is, but I am so excited. I want everybody to be safe. If you are in Texas, in Houston, make sure you wear a light jacket because it's very cold. I'm just overly tired of this weather. I don't like anything cooler than 75. It's just way too much for me right now. And I'm willing to complain to anybody that I can. But I want everybody to be safe, have as much turkey and ham as you possibly can, and potato salad without raisins, and no green bean casserole, none at all. But anything else is open. So I will see you all in December, and I want to know everything y'all ate, and I will start cooking tomorrow, Wednesday. So excited. But bye-bye and be safe, guys. Have a great time with your family, whether face-to-face or virtually. Bye-bye.